Hey, it's Jay from Pacific Northwest Sports. Hope you enjoy the newest podcast. If you ever want a wall like mine, please check out Green Gridiron. They're an amazing company capable of making any of the helmets you see or any helmet you can imagine. Their link is below and the QR code is right here. As always, you can check us out on any of our social medias. Enjoy! I am here with Katie Hart, the head coach of esports at Warner Pacific University. How are you doing today?
I am doing great.
Amazing. So I'm really happy you were able to take some time to be on the podcast with us today. I'm really looking forward to kind of getting your history on esports and how you started and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, so I have been the head esports coach at Warner Pacific for about 6 minutes. Okay, maybe a smidge longer than that, but let's see, what is today? The 25th. So we just crossed the 1 month line, which is fantastic. I am new to coaching esports. I've actually coached softball, which is my jam. Like that's my main passion in the world of sports. And I have also coached cross country, which is actually really funny because I think the furthest I have ever run at one time was 60 feet. But it was just a joy to get to work with students and to really like coach. I predominantly have coached at the high school level, some in like the little league softball, like 10, 12U arena. But I have just really loved building relationships with students and getting to know students. I have loved being able to help them do hard things and just really accomplish things that they weren't even convinced that they could do. But in the same regards, I've also really I've loved helping walk them through failure because in the world of sports, we fail a lot also, especially softball, right? Softball, baseball, those are games where we are set up to fail most of the time. And learning how to push through that is really tough. And so that's one of the things that esports actually really has been, I don't know, I've been attracted to esports because in the world of video games, we have students who aren't normally athletic and they are getting the same opportunities that our student athletes are getting, where they're going to learn how to communicate and work together as a team. They're going to learn how to win. They're going to learn how to lose. And we can foster that through their strengths, which might not be running down a base path. They might not have the athletic prowess that other student athletes have, but they now don't have to miss out on those soft skills that traditionally have been bolstered through the participation in the athletics. So I'm really excited to be building the program, and we are really truly in the building phase where we will be like actually right now I have 6 students who are going to be joining me, and I'm sure that we're going to find some more. But at this point, we are truly in the baby building phase.
Wow. That is a lot. So the building aspect of it, I don't know about you, and I don't know how many other people have this experience as well, but esports is a fairly new thing. So the process of becoming the head coach, how did that go? Like, did you just see an opening and you were like, yep, I'll do it? Or did they approach you? How did you learn about esports? How are you comfortable coaching it?
Yeah, so I'm not sure that I am comfortable coaching it, right? Like let's talk about softball. I know how to play softball. I know how you should hold a bat. I know how you should throw a ball. I know where you should throw a ball given certain situations. In esports, one of the things that's really fascinating to me about this, and I grew up playing games. I can talk about that later, but like I have games that I love, right? And games that I play and that I specialize in, like Call of Duty, man, that is my jam. Anything Mario, right? We can have a load of fun with anything Mario. But like I'm going to be coaching a League of Legends team. I've never played League of Legends. And so that's really daunting to say like, hey, we're going to have this thing and I'm going to be the person helping support you and helping you grow through this. And so one of the things that I love about esports is that it really is a community, like a community event. And so I'm going to have, say, like 5 student athletes who are going to be a part of our League of Legends team. And we're going to find a captain within that. And so somebody is going to start developing their leadership skills. But while that one person is developing their leadership skills, the other 4 student athletes are going to be developing their followership skills, right? Because being able to be led is something that you have to learn how to do, and you have to practice being that person who can support a leader. And so that's an effective skill. So when these kids graduate from college, they're going to have these talents and skills that are developed, that are marketable skills that employers are really hoping this generation has at a higher level. So I'm really excited about that piece. But I also know that, like, for me as a coach, I have to grow and develop and let go of a little bit of that type A personality, right? Because I want to teach you how to do these things, and I want to, but like, I don't have the skills. So we're going to have to like basically grow together and develop that program together and bring in those student leaders who do have the skills and who do have the strategies. And we're going to have conversations and communication to figure out where our strengths are. And just because you might not be the highest ranked League of Legends player doesn't mean that your strategy is going to fall apart all the time, right? You're going to bring a lot of wealth and information and experience to the table, and you're still going to have a lot to share with your team, even though you might not be the quote team captain or the team manager for that sport. So I'm really excited to watch this develop. As far as how I got plugged in, I teach math at the high school level, and I was at work one day and I 100% got caught playing Pokemon Go while I was waiting for my photocopies to be run. And so my coworker was like, "So you're kind of a gamer, huh?" And I was like, Yep, totally guilty, right? That's amazing. For those of you that don't know, I am 42 years old and I have kids of my own in college right now. So like, it is actually kind of funny, right? And by the way, this fellow teacher is like, I don't know, 23, 24 years old. So he was like 100% calling me out, right? And but it turns out his dad's the athletic director at Warner Pacific. And so he was like, "So my dad is actually looking for somebody." And my first thought was like, "No way, I am not qualified at all, like not in the slightest." And so I was sitting there, like, I don't know, maybe 2 months later, and my phone rings in the middle of my prep period. And sure enough, it is the athletic director from Warner Pacific. And he says, "Hey, so I need somebody to come on and coach esports." And I was like, "You are hilarious. That's funny stuff. I'll tell you what, let me look at the job description, and if it's something that I think I could do, I'll fill out the application. But if it's not something that I feel qualified to do, I won't." And so I looked at it, and sure enough, it really is about building relationships, fostering those soft skills, teaching kids communication and organization. And I keep saying kids, but really, let's face it, we're talking about adults, right? We're talking about kids that are 20 something about to go into the real world and find their way, their path through life, and reach all these adulting goals. And I can be there to love on them and to support them and to cheer them on and to help them advocate for their needs when they don't know what those needs are, and do all those things that coaches need to do. I might not know how to play League of Legends, but I can do a whole lot of other stuff, and I can really help build and foster that community. So the more that I started talking to Mr. Greg, the more I was like, okay, I actually think that I can do this. And so here we are, like a month and a half later, and we have 6 kids ready to rock and roll. And we have an esports room that looks phenomenal. I can't wait to get into this and like start actually getting some league play. And, you know, the reality is, again, we might not be the most competitive esports team, but we're going to walk away at the end of the day. And these student athletes are going to be able to accomplish some real world, tangible skill building while they're at it. So I'm super stoked.
Yeah, I saw that reveal of the room on Instagram actually, and was like, wow, like they're really putting some effort into this, as you do with every major collegiate sport, obviously, if you're going to go that route. What do you think was the point of Warner Pacific bringing in an esports team? Because this is still a fairly new thing to a lot of schools.
Yeah, it is pretty new. And like in all fairness, the East Coast is actually a little bit further ahead of us as far as the esports development goes. But that's okay. We'll get there, and it will be glorious when we do. And so I think that really there's 2 points that they had in bringing the esports to Warner Pacific. The first one is really just providing an opportunity for students to find their people on campus, right? My own kids, like we just did a college visit this morning with my incoming high school senior who's trying to figure out what college looks like for her. I've got another one down at Oregon State, which, you know, we love Oregon State for engineering, right? And one of the things is that it's just so important to me as the parent sending them out into the world that they find those people that are going to be their ride and dies, right? Like I want my kids to feel loved and appreciated and valued for exactly who they are and what they bring to the table. So I think by Warner Pacific saying like, hey, we need this esports program. We need this kind of energy on campus. We need to help support these students find their people. And so that's really like what the biggest thing is. The second thing is that they want to recruit students into their programs, right? They're looking to bring students into Warner Pacific that are maybe attracted by that esports program and saying like, hey, we could supplement our digital marketing program with students who are interested in digital marketing and want to build a name for themselves on Instagram, on Twitch, doing broadcasts and streaming and things. And we recognize that esports can promote other programs within the campus. So we're also looking forward to expanding as we go. And I think that one of the things that'll be really fun about this expansion is that it's going to be very grassroots. So we're going to see who comes out of our Warner Pacific student body and who the esports program attracts. And we're going to capitalize on the talents and the interests of those students and see what we can organically grow. And so again, it's just another one of those opportunities for students to start building those soft skills while they're here on campus and while they're getting started in the esports world.
That is so cool to think of a school being like, we want to help people find their people. Inclusion in all different types of ways will also be a competitive sport because we all have that itch in us to be an athlete, you know?
Oh, for sure. For sure. There's pride, right? Like we have pride when we put our uniform on. My daughter, who's the senior, she's a softball player, right? She does her hair. That's the thing. Like you see her walking around the house, she never has her hair done. But I guarantee you, when she is on that softball field, her hair is done. And that is her level of pride. It's like you're getting ready, you're putting your game face on, right? We all love that level of competition and that drive to step up and basically achieve.
You mentioned that you've actually never participated in League of Legends.
Yes.
What about Rocket League? You guys have Rocket League as a sport, is that correct?
Yes, we have Rocket League, and I am awful, but I am awful in a really great way. So no, I love Rocket League. Rocket League, I think, is one of those games that it's really easy to play Rocket League, but it's really hard to master Rocket League. And I'm like right in the middle of those two. You know, it's like my timing is still not quite right, and there's more times that I sail past the ball than I care to admit. But I love playing Rocket League. It is so much fun.
What about Smash Ultimate?
So Smash Ultimate, I am not going to lie. I kind of rage quit a little Smash Ultimate there. My son just got too good and he thinks it's hilarious to cream me. So I like, forget it. I'm not playing with you anymore. It's not fun for me. But no, Smash Ultimate is great, right? And I used to play like, let's go old school, Tony Hawk, right? I used to play Tony Hawk, and I at first hated Tony Hawk, and then you start to figure out like the button configurations and the timing for said configurations, and you like start to put some like really gnarly stuff together, right? I feel like Smash is like that. You can just sit there and click buttons furiously, right? Or like Mortal Kombat, like on the actual arcade game, right? You just sit there and pound the buttons, and like sometimes really cool stuff happens. And you're like, oh, that was awesome. I should remember that. And no, you never remember that. But Smash Ultimate is going to be a blast, I think. And what a great example, right? Where that coordination, that timing, the communication, like when you get a team of players coming together and they're all going to like have their strategies jive, in esports world, you have somebody like looking over their shoulders, calling the plays, talking about who's doing what. Oh, so and so needs help to the left, right? Like there's some really great stuff that happens with that. So yeah, I absolutely love it. But again, my favorite is that Call of Duty. Like if I'm going to pick up a video game and I just need to blow off a little steam at the end of the day, you better believe I'm looking for a hardcore shipment 24/7, all day run and gun. Occasionally I just get mad and pull out the rocket launcher to start, but it is like that is my fun game.
That's great. So, and again, I think a lot of people are going to have these type of questions, but what does scoring look like? What does league play look like? What do playoffs end up going like?
Yeah, so really great questions. And there's not really like a solid answer for all of it. So esports is a little bit different than collegiate sports. We are at Warner Pacific an NAIA school. However, NAIA doesn't have a specific esports league. So our student athletes are going to be completely under the umbrella of student athletes. They get all the same perks that student athletes get. We will have uniforms, we will have water bottles, we have letters of intent that students will sign saying, yes, I am committing to the esports program. For that matter, I have scholarship dollars, right? So I can entice students to come and play esports. If anybody is interested in fall 2023, we are recruiting. But we do have the scholarship money for student athletes because esports student athletes are still student athletes. So we will have two leagues. We will have one league that we're playing with. We're going to be playing with NACE Esports. So NACE has schools across the country and they work on organizing and providing that gameplay structure. And so when it's game day, we're going to go at the scheduled time and we're going to sign into our NACE Star League account and set up the match. And then the other schools will join or we'll join them. And we have our match that is scheduled. Matches will happen once a week. So if I remember off the top of my head, Monday night is Rocket League night. So every Monday night Rocket League team will show up and they will compete together in the same room on campus, which is fantastic. They can have viewers. We can project and live stream their plays so that across the school, students can be cheering them on. And, just like you would attending a basketball game, right? Like you can sit in the couch in the corner of the esports room and whoop and holler and cheer on your Rocket League team if that's your thing. So super excited to have that. And then you will play once a week. I forget exactly how many weeks. And then there are actually playoffs and finals, just like you would have with a regular sport. So the structure is super similar, which is really fun. In addition to that, student athletes actually have the opportunity to participate in different tournaments. A lot of these tournaments right now are offering some pretty awesome cash prizes. So potentially if our team is feeling super adventurous, we can go try our hand at a couple of these tournaments. And we can, potentially earn a little bit of money towards the students' scholarship fund as well. So, if you win money as an esport athlete, you will get to keep part of that money. Part of it will go back into the program to help offset costs. So pretty sweet gig. We also have different levels of competition, which is really fun. So like our highest level could be the varsity premier team, and they will play and compete against other super high level teams. But we've actually talked about maybe getting together some of our like men's basketball players. Maybe in their off season, they want to put together some team building and work on communication through esports. We can actually put them in an open league, and we can have as many teams as we want in these open leagues. And so you can get together a couple of your buddies and just be like, hey, you know what? Let's try this thing out. Let's see if we can do a spring season. You can come down and participate in that open league, which is a little bit more of a casual play. And you'll be playing against other players who are also a little bit more casual. So one of the awesome things about NACE is that they look at what your player rankings are and they sort you by other teams that are similarly matched to you. Because everybody knows it is no fun just getting your butts handed to you every week when you're outmatched, right? Like you don't want to be that team. As an Oakland A's fan right now, I'm feeling this so much, but you don't want to be that team, right? And so so NACE is going to make sure that the teams that we put in are matched similarly so that we have some fun and we have some competition, but also so that we can grow as players. So at any rate, I'm super excited about what esports is going to bring. You probably could tell. Maybe I'm a little over caffeinated. I don't know. It could go either way.
No, I think you have a high energetic spirit, which is what people want in a coach. Teach their own, but that's what I always preferred when I played. You mentioned rankings. How are those player rankings defined and how are they done? Who are they managed by?
Yeah, so you're going to bring like your own Rocket League account to school. So if you haven't played much, you're probably ranked lower, right? So you will actually bring your own accounts to school. So you'll use whatever stats you've been working on building up. That's what you're going to use to actually get started with in the esports world, which is lovely. We are also going to be working on making sure that student athletes have an opportunity to build a social media presence as well. In the world of esports, professional esports athletes are people who have a strong online presence, right? You find them on Twitch, you find them streaming and broadcasting, you find them doing reviews and tutorials. And so one of the things that we're going to build into our program is an opportunity for students to have time to cut and edit some of their own videos and build that social media presence, just because that is important to the esports world as a whole.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I think online presence is huge when you're growing as any sport, right? Or anything that you're trying to do online. It's definitely something that is more new where you have to have a presence there to be successful in almost any other avenue.
For sure. For sure. And I mean, you know exactly what it's like to build your brand, right? And so these student athletes are going to have an opportunity to brand themselves and think about like, what kind of online presence do they want to present to the world? And how does that trajectory help move them towards their next goal, right? So like if you want a job in the Pacific Northwest working for a Nike or an Adidas, you might have that lens in mind when you start building your online presence. And even though we're talking about, you know, your Rocket League stats, you can still do that with that lens of like, I would like to someday design my own shoes, right? So how do you present that to the world? So I think that we're going to be able to do some really great things and utilize a lot of like senior projects that these students are doing as part of their graduation requirements. We can use esports to help support some of that and, you know, build that online presence throughout so that they're like one step closer to that next goal.
That is so interesting. Esports is just a booming thing. So I'm really happy you ended up taking that job and got that call on your prep period.
Right? You and me both. I'm pumped for this. We're having a blast so far.
So what is the primary season of esports? Is it during the fall or the spring?
Both, actually. It's fall and spring. They take the winter off. Winter break is, you know, a little tricky to manage some of that. Esports, even though technically you could actually do esports from a distance, right? Like you could participate in esports at your house and your teammates could be at their own house. Part of the requirement is that they are in the same space. So for league participation, you do need to be in the same space. So, you know, winter break throws that for a little bit of a wrench. But a lot of teams will participate in different tournaments or they'll have scrimmages that they organize with different schools. We've got some great esports programs that are established already in the Pacific Northwest. So George Fox has a fantastic program that we are just striving to be even a little bit like George Fox or Bushnell. They all have some really great things happening there already. So it could be that we decide to scrimmage and either we go visit or we stay here and they stay there. And so we'll definitely stay active as a program and have regular practice times. It's not quite as intense of a schedule as a traditional athlete would be like during the season. But it will be 3 days a week of practice and league play during the season, in addition to practice time individually on your own. But again, our student athletes are by definition student athletes. And so there will also be a physical activity requirement where they need to meet and do something physical together, whether that's work with our athletic trainer and start a workout program or go for a walk. If you have ever been to Warner Pacific, we are right at the base of Mount Tabor. And so like beautiful hiking trail, walking trails probably is really more logistically accurate, but beautiful walking trails, like literally right behind me. And so we'll have some of the physical time together in addition to just time that we're not sitting in front of a console. So, communication, strategy time, talking about gameplay, refreshing after a game and having that meeting about like what happened, what went well, what didn't go well, analyze our game footage. Like, oh, I needed to go back and check out what happened to, that moment. I couldn't figure it out while playing. I need to know, right? We'll have some of that reflection and analysis, which again is so critical for anything, right? Like if you're a computer programmer and you send your program out for testing and you get that feedback, you need to be able to sit down and analyze and go through what went well, what didn't go well, and not have it be something that is like feedback should be positive and constructive, and analysis should be positive and constructive. And so this will be another one of those skills that students are going to be practicing. How do we analyze this gameplay with a constructive lens so that we grow and improve? And how do we look at things that we messed up and still make it a positive thing? How do we analyze that in a way that is positive? Because let's be honest, right now, failure happens. And there's so many times, right? Like, especially online in our social media digital world, failure happens, or even somebody says something that you take out of context and you immediately turn that lens onto, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Why don't they like me? And it like, that's not what it is, right? It is just that, hey, we have room for improvement. I know sometimes, especially me being a linear math brain, I will just cut to the chase, right? And it's like, there's nothing wrong. I'm not mad at you. I'm not upset with you. Like, I just noticed we have room for improvement. And so in my linear brain, I'm like, let's just put it out there. This is our room for improvement. And my own kids who know exactly how my brain functions, right? They will sometimes interpret that as like, oh my gosh, mom's mad at me. And we have to have that conversation. And it's so good to be able to have those conversations with each other and just know, this is my communication style. This is how we're going to approach this, but let's problem solve and reason together so that we can do better in the next match and that our strategy holds together in the next match. So those communication things are pretty critical.
You mentioned strategy and you mentioned practice and also the physical event in and of itself. How long is a practice lasting you? For like football, it's 3 hours and everyone knows what they're doing, right? There's 5-minute periods. You're doing something, you're breaking, you're rotating to your next circuit, or however that may be. And you have some people who are playing both ways, some people who are one way. So are all your athletes in Rocket League, Smash Ultimate? Are they just Rocket League players, just Smash Ultimate? What does that look like in the participation in and of itself?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And I don't actually have an answer because I, at this moment, don't have enough student athletes. So that's something that, like, as we get closer to students moving on campus, we're going to start figuring out who those students are and what their interests are. And it may end up being that we have 7 Rocket League teams and nothing else, right? Or we could end up really balanced, or we have kids overlapping. So it's one of those things, like, I really want to be flexible and I want to support students kind of finding their people again, right? Fitting into that niche that's the most important for them. Now, I will say that what the current plan is that we will be having practice and league on the same night. So, if the esports arena is open for, say, 3 hours, right? 1 hour might be league play. And during that league play, the other teams might be meeting and watching footage and strategizing and planning. Or maybe they're going for a walk, right? And then the next 2 hours would be practice. And so dividing that up would be really critical. But a lot of that is going to be kind of organically created as we build those teams and figure out who the teams are and kind of how we can meet their needs for participating in the things that they want to participate in. I know that not all esports programs are as flexible, and part of us being new is that we can be a little bit more flexible right now. But that might be something that we have to kind of button up as we grow, and we might have to say, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to choose Rocket League or League of Legends. Which way are you going to go? And it might be that a student chooses Rocket League in the fall and League of Legends in the spring as well. We do have that flexibility. So once you commit to a team, you are on that team for the season, but you can actually change it up and do different teams and different levels for the next season as well. So if you're like, I kind of started playing Rocket League, I hadn't played it before, I was only on the Nintendo doing Smash Bros, you could try your hand at a different game as well. And for now we have that flexibility, but we might have to not be quite as flexible once we make it a little further into the program development.
Interesting. So you mentioned just development in and of itself in the program and how you're going to run practices, and you're still trying to figure that out. How many players do you need to have a full team?
3. I mean, really, like the minimum for a game. But you've got to remember too, like this is one of the things that I find really maybe intimidating about esports, right? Like, again, go back to that softball analogy. In the world of softball, I need a pitcher and a catcher. And really, just about anybody else, we can train to play those fields or those positions on the field, right? And even pitching and catching, right? Like, if we need a pitcher for a day, everybody has watched a pitcher pitch. Are they going to be like top tier pitcher day one? No, of course not, right? But we might be able to get through a ball game. In the world of esports, it's kind of the same thing, but not, right? Because if you've only been playing Rocket League, you're going to be good at Rocket League. I could sign you up for League of Legends and you're going to be like, what the bleep am I supposed to do? Right? Like, you're not going to have a clue. So we have to make sure that we're building the team that is going to be well-rounded and supplement. We can have subs. So like we can pick, 7 players, and then maybe on league night I only need 4, right? So 3 of them watch, or 1 of them is calling, or maybe 2 of them end up having a lab class that they have to go to that night, and so they can't make it. So those are some things that we can do to be a little bit flexible, but it really depends on like what is the niche of the student athlete that they specialize in, and how do we make all of that come together as a team. So really 3 is like the minimum that you need to have an esports team. But more is better for sure. So the goal for this year is 10. But I would love to have even more than 10. And I'm hoping that we can start doing some recruiting and reaching out to different high school esports teams, because high schools are developing esports programs as well. So that's something that, like you mentioned, right? It really is a building, like it's a developing sport across all platforms. And so different high schools have different teams, and some of them have them under the athletics umbrella, but most of them, they're just a club. Some are more intense than others, right? Some actually will have uniforms and they'll meet and game there. The school that I work at, actually, their esports team can't play on campus because all of the computers are locked down with permissions that the games aren't able to be played, right? Which as a math teacher during the day, I 100% appreciate, because I don't really need kids playing Rocket League in the middle of my math class. I would like them to do algebra instead. But right, there is a time and a place. So that is actually something that I'm really excited about, having access to an esports arena now. We can also invite local high schools to come and use our facility. And so we can build and foster that relationship and help develop and provide them the opportunity to see what a collegiate esports career might look like, and how do they get engaged with that, in addition to just teaching them those skills. Even if they have no interest in pursuing esports at the collegiate level, it is really great for them to be able to develop those communication skills and the ability to problem solve and teamwork within a group of people. Those are the marketable skills that we want students graduating with. And so esports is just a great venue for providing that, and being able to foster that at the high school level will be fantastic.
You mentioned recruiting.
Yeah.
I want to know, and you said you got some scholarship money, which always helps.
Right. Everybody loves a good
Recruitment
scholarship. So, I mean, that, to be honest, like that, I'm learning, right? Like I am absolutely learning how this works. So there are a lot of different venues, and I have loved being on this side of the recruiting process because it just really has opened up so much information to me. Any of those high school seniors, juniors, sophomores that are interested in being recruited, I would totally have a conversation with you about what that process could look like. Like, it has just been absolutely eye-opening. The thing that I almost forgot is that these college coaches are just people, right? And our job is to build a program and develop that talent within the program, so that not only are you provided the opportunity to play the sport that you love, but also that you can grow and develop at that sport that you love. And at the end of the day, every one of these people are people that started coaching because they love the thing that they coach, and they want to continue coaching because they want to build the relationships with the student athletes and help foster that environment. So I think the reality is, if you are a high school student that wants to be recruited, you should remember you already have something in common with that coach, right? You already love the thing that they're doing. And so that is a connection that you have right there. And there is nothing wrong with you reaching out and saying, hey, coach, I'm here. I just wanted you to know I love your school. I'm excited about your school. I'd be interested in more information about your school, but I really want to know more about your program. And I would love to get connected with your, softball program or soccer program or wrestling program or esports program, right? So I just think that is intimidating for students, right? Reaching out and sending that initial message, making a phone call. So many times we don't pick up a phone and call nowadays, right? We text, we send a message on Instagram, and those are all great, right? Like I have been making phone calls, sending emails, texting, and messaging on Instagram all within the last 2 hours, right? I have used all of those venues to reach out to students and talk to them in the last 2 hours. So whatever you're comfortable with, whatever's in your wheelhouse, I would say start there. And I would say let the coach know that you already know that school is a viable choice for you. So if you're like, I know that I want to become a doctor, so I want to study biology and minor in Spanish, and you reach out to me and we don't have either of those programs, which that would be a waste of my time, right? Which also means it's wasting your time. So know that the school has the programs that you want before you reach out. Know that there's something that you might be interested in. I also would really encourage students who are interested in being recruited to know why you want to be recruited. Like, what do you want out of that college experience? And know what you are okay with. Like, are you okay with an adventure? Are you okay with living in Portland? Are you okay with living in a suburb? Are you okay with a big campus or a small campus? Are you okay with buildings that are from 1960 whatever, right? Like, these are things that you need to know before you start looking into these schools. And once you know that this school might be a choice for you, that's when I would reach out and I would say, hey, coach, I'm here. How can you get me plugged in? Like, I have a product as a college coach and I'm selling you my product, right? I'm selling you a degree from this 4-year university, and I'm selling you the student population and the community that we have on campus. I'm selling you on the programs that we have that will help support you finding a job after you graduate. Like, those are the things that I'm selling you. So I really am a salesperson trying to help you find the product that's going to meet your needs. And that makes you the customer too, right? So as the customer, once you know what you're looking for and you start reaching out, like, I think that part of the recruiting process actually becomes really, really easy, because here's the deal. We're either going to work together or we're not, and it's going to be okay, right? Like, if you decide Warner's not the school for you, I'm still going to sleep well at night. I might be a little sad, but I'm going to know that I sold the product that I have to the best of what it is. And I don't want to sell you something that isn't going to meet your needs, right? I don't want to like fake sell, because then you're going to come and you're going to be miserable. And that means that I'm not going to be happy either. And I'm not going to get to keep you. And so I'm going to be straight up, and I'm going to tell you, this is what we have and this is how it works. So at that point, you just need to know, like, is that what you want or not? And so that is a hard choice, right? That I remember when I was in college or in high school, I applied to 5 different colleges and I got accepted to all of them. And then I said, oh crap, I don't know what to do. Like, it was so overwhelming, right? And like, I want to make sure that you make a choice that's right for you, so that you find your people and you get connected. So that's kind of how the recruiting process works. And if I have the opportunity to, like, once you say, hey, I think I'm going to apply, and you fill out your FAFSA and you do the application, I now have enough information that I can say, okay, so you qualify for this much academic money, and now I can support you with a little bit of athletic money. And I'm not going to be on, I'm not going to like make this up, you guys. It is not a lot of money, right? Like, there is not a ton of money to be given, but it definitely helps, right? Every dollar helps. Like, every $500 scholarship you find is going to help. And I can do a little bit better than that, but it's not a full ride for esports.
Not yet. One
right?
day.
Right. One day. And if you're good enough, we'll take you to lots of tournaments, and then you can earn your way too.
Well, true. There is that ability to potentially, maybe you win enough tournaments that you're all of a sudden your monthly payments aren't as bad.
Right. One can dream.
That is the eventual goal. You mentioned just the growth of it, and you said you can have high schools come visit the esports room and stuff like that. Have you started looking into high schools and opening up that invitation a little bit to kind of maybe get some people in?
I have not, and it's 100% a selfish reason why I haven't. There's actually 2 parts to it. First of all, as a high school teacher, I don't want emails, right? Like, it is summer break. Now, in fairness, I'm like working full time trying to get the esports program running. So it's really not summer break, but it's fine. The weather is nicer. So I know that a lot of high school teachers who are those club advisors aren't accessible right now. So I haven't prioritized that yet. However, I also know that we have so many things to do. Like, my to-do list is 9 million pages long, just to try and get all the things buttoned up so that we can start the fall season and start it well. So that's really been my focus right now, is starting that fall season well. Once we get the student population back on campus and we have those teams formed and we've got the registration done, that's where I am going to start reaching out. So at this moment, I've actually had a little help in an assistant who has been working at compiling the list of emails. And so it'll be a fast and furious, like, reach out to all those high school esports teams. But if you're hearing this and you are a high school esports person, please feel free to reach out, because I would love to start some of those conversations.
Where can they reach you at?
Oh, so Instagram is fantastic. The WPU esports on Instagram, and I've got Katie Hart at warnerpacific.edu is my email address. Honestly, if you Google right now, we've been pushing so much social media stuff. If you just Google Katie Hart, Warner Pacific Esports, or Katie Hart Esports, you're going to find me. So don't hesitate to reach out any way that you can. I would love to start building those connections. And one of the things that I'm so excited about, like I was a little apprehensive because I knew that taking on an esports coaching job was going to be a steep learning curve, right? I've never recruited anybody for college. I've never given out scholarship money. For that matter, I've never given out money, right? Like I've never had enough money to give out. So like that alone was exciting. But I knew that my learning curve was going to be really steep. And one of the things that I have loved about my last like month and a half experience is every person that I have talked to has helped. And even if they didn't have the knowledge base to do what it was that I needed them to do, they've been able to say, oh, I don't have X, Y, and Z, but so-and-so over here helped me get X, Y, and Z. And I'm sure that they'll help you. And I reach out to that second step person and they're like, oh yeah, for sure. Let me hook you up. So the community is just like, that's part of that building phase, right? Everybody is building and everybody is so excited about having esports. When I got here onto campus at Warner Pacific, I would introduce myself and I would say, I'm Katie. And they're like, oh, the esports coach, right? Like they knew and they were so excited. It is fantastic. The person who put together all the computers and the computer chairs, like he's just so excited to build this because he knows what it can do for our student population and how it can help them grow and develop into marketable people for the workforce, right? Like that was his passion. Our IT department is like so excited to just really make sure that all of the details are taken care of. So we have customized screensavers for each of the computers that are gonna show our branding and really just make sure that we have a strong presence so that anybody peeking through the windows, this is what they were saying, anybody peeking through the windows is gonna know this is the esports arena and that it's something special. So I love the energy. I love the sense of camaraderie that everybody has within the esports industry. Like I've reached out to the George Fox coach and it's like, hey, welcome to the family kind of vibe. It's not like, oh, you're my competitor vibe, right? Like there was none of that. So yeah, I'm just really excited about the whole esports community and how we can come together. And I want to continue that. So, if you're a part of that esports community and you're like, you know what, I would love to host a kids camp, let me know, right? Like that's something I was thinking we could even partner with a high school. If we partnered with a high school and had a little fundraiser, right, and had our esports arena, high school kids came and helped out with the elementary age kids, right? And we did this as a fundraiser together collaboratively, or we banded together to raise funds for a cause, right? Like these are all things that we can do to support each other and build our esports community, which I think is a fantastic. I think more sports programs need to be fostering that sense of community within each other as well.
That's awesome to hear that, your proximity rival would be George Fox, but instead of, I got a competition and getting recruits and all these new things, it was more of just congratulations, I'm excited to help you. Have they been open to say, hey, here's what we did to kind of kick off? And I really want to harp on how crazy it is to think that you are building a program. Like the literal like when a new coach comes in, yeah, they usually wipe out everything and they say, this is how we're starting, right? Or they say, oh no, this coach was great, they have a foundation. You literally have, and I mean this nicely, nothing in terms of you're building it from ground zero. So what are those main building blocks that you say, I want people, when they think of Warner Pacific esports, they're going to know X, Y, and Z? What are those main things?
Oh, that's such a good question. And just to like, I'll put a pin in that for 1 second. George Fox coach and I are having coffee later this week. So, and he's going to come out and check out our space and make sure that we're all set up in the way that we need to be, which is like above and beyond, right? So as far as like, what is an esport student athlete and how does that look for our school? I think that the epitome of somebody who wants to participate in esports needs to be somebody who wants to improve themselves and improve the people that they work with. Having that growth mindset over your abilities and your accomplishments, I think, is so critical. I know that, I mean, I know because I've struggled with this, right? I have been on teams that have been good. I have been on teams that are awful. I have coached teams that are good, like just naturally, right? Like I didn't bring anything extra to the table. Like they just did great because they wanted to do great and they had the ability to do great. But I've also been on teams where they have been horrible, like absolutely awful. And the difference between those teams and the experiences is really truly with the athlete's mindset. If you are going to show up every day and you're going to do your best because you take pride in what you do and you take pride in being a teammate, right? And not just any teammate, like your team's teammate, right? Like that is something that is going to show above and beyond. And you could lose everything, but you can still have a phenomenal season. I played college softball and we were not great. We were a small school in Northern California. We didn't have a lot of talent. And for that matter, we barely had enough players for a team. And we didn't win a single game. And for that matter, I was a catcher growing up, but I pitched, right? I was one of our starting pitchers because we didn't have pitchers. And I was like, I can get the ball across the plate, right? Like I can do that. And so no joke, I'd never had a home run hit off of me until I was a pitcher in college. And UC Davis put a couple bombs over the fence off of me. And I was just like, oh my ever loving, like that is obscene, right? You would just watch these rocket ships launch over your head. And I'm pretty sure that UC Berkeley was probably the most embarrassing game of all of them because the girls that played, like by the second inning, the girls that were playing, I'm fairly certain had never played a college softball game before. And they were like the third string. They came to the field with a full face of makeup on. Their hair bows were all done, right? Like they were not there to play softball. They were there to look good. And they got some game time and we still lost by like 30 runs. It probably wasn't that bad. It's probably like 24.
Okay, I was gonna say 30 is a lot.
I know, right? They took mercy on us after a while. But the reality is we got our butts handed to us more than a few times. And that could have been really embarrassing. But instead, what we walked away from that was like, oh my gosh, we had so much fun together. It was so great getting to know you. It was so great spending time together on the road, traveling in the van, buying Taco Bell for the people with signs on off ramps to offer up to them. Like we connected over those things that, like, at the end of the day, the only reason why I remember our win-loss ratio is because it was so atrocious, right? But like, I couldn't tell you any of my high school season's win-loss ratios, not a one, because at the end of the day, like, that doesn't matter. And so the ideal esports student athlete at the end of the day, like, yeah, I can tell you what my Call of Duty KDR is right now off the top of my head because I'm a number person and I nerd out about things like that. But if I drop a game at 0.38 because, like, I'm sure it was just because I'm lagging, nothing else, right? But like those games happen, I'm not going to throw my controller at the TV, right? Like I'm not going to sit there and just rage quit because I'm getting clobbered. Like I'm going to hold my head up and be like, yeah, well, you know what? I just went 6.33 KDR on shipment, right? So like, I know that I can hold my own, and I know that my attitude about the game is what's going to dictate at the end of the day how I walk away. And so that is the ideal esports candidate, somebody who can hold their head up, who can be a part of the team, whether or not you win or lose, and who is going to take pride in the fact that they participated and enjoyed the journey and get the most out of that journey and walk away feeling good, not because of the win-loss ratio, but because of what they did during that game and what they accomplished with their teammates.
You have me ready to run through a wall.
I love it. I love it. Well, you know, it's never too late, right? My first esports recruit is like in his 30s. So I'm just saying, if you still need to come back to school, right? You know where we'll play some games together. Get that Rocket League going.
I'll talk to the fiance about that one and see how she feels about it.
I love it. I love it. Does she play? Like I'll take you both.
Hey,
It could be something you do together, right? Like almost like premarital counseling right there in the esports arena.
Hey, potentially. No, I think she played some Call of Duty back in the day, so I think she enjoys that type of thing. Not as much now. Now she's really into the cricket and other different stuff like that, so she loves it. I still play to this day, but all different types of things. So I have 5 questions that we ask all of our interviews, our conversations. So we'll just go with those. So you're at a gas station. You're about to go on an 8-hour road trip. It's going to be a long haul. What's your go-to snack and your go-to drink?
So sour gummy worms are absolutely my road trip candy. Sometimes I'll go like the candy apples, like the sour appelos. But those ones need to be the cheap, like gas station ones. They can't be the high quality ones. There's something about the cheap ones that are so much better. But the sour gummy worms, those are trolley or bust, right? Like if you aren't carrying trolley, I am not crossing a line on that. It is hard and fast set. As far as drink goes, I actually carry around my own beverages in the trunk of my car. Oh my gosh, I sound like a freaking drug dealer. It's fine. I promise they're all legal. But it is caffeinated water. And so I'm not really particular. Highball is what I have on my desk right now. Highball is probably my favorite, but they're hard to find. And so a lot of gas stations don't have Highball. But like Bubbly used to have sparkling water, but it was caffeinated, and I can't even find that anymore. So Safeway, if you're listening to this podcast, I need the caffeinated Bubbly back. But Target also carries some, which I don't know, that one just feels weird, but I will totally go to Target. The last time we were there, I think we ended up filling a shopping cart full of caffeinated water for the weekend road trip, but it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, it's one step away from an IV, but my kids say hydrate or dihydrate. So I'm like, look, I'm hydrating. I'm drinking lots. And they're like, that doesn't count. Totally does.
You know what? My fiance is the same way where I'm like, you got to drink something. She's like, I'm drinking Dr. Pepper. And I'm like, that's not hydrating you.
Right. It's fantastic.
All righty.
Diet Coke used to be my go-to. So every now and then I'll go back with a classic.
Yeah, it's always a good classic to have. Who's your favorite athlete or esport? Or I guess it's actually the same thing. They are athletes. So who's your favorite athlete of all time?
Gosh, that's so hard. My mom is going to totally take issue if I don't say Mark McGuire right now. So I'm going to go Mark McGuire. Hands down. I grew up in the Bay Area and my brother was a Giants fan. So I had to be an A's fan. And I'm not even kidding. I remember the day he was traded to St. Louis. Like my mom brought me a copy of the newspaper and a black rose because I was out at I was at band camp. Isn't that so funny? But there I was. I think it was at Western Oregon actually. But I was at band camp and Mark McGuire got traded and there were actual tears shed. So then I also became a Cardinals fan, which is good because right now, being an Oakland A's fan, I mean, can't even say Oakland anymore. But whatever, it's fine. So I'm also a Cardinals fan. And Tony La Russa was one that I loved as far as his managerial style. He's a numbers cruncher, right? Which I love. He was an early adopter of statistics in the dugout. So love that kind of stuff.
That's great. I am a super big Raider fan, as you can see right over there. I got a Raider skull and all that. So I understand the pain.
Right. It is rough. Did you ever see the movie Basketball?
I did, yes.
Yeah, there was a comment in the beginning, and I forget exactly how it goes, but it was fantastic. They moved from Oakland to Los Angeles to back to Oakland, and nobody even noticed. Yeah, 100% feel that pain.
Well, I mean, maybe they'll go to Las Vegas and there'll be some more succse there. I can tell you it's a great place. I don't know if the success
but it's not Portland. What
true.
the bleep? What the actual? We were supposed to get a baseball team.
Oh, Lordy. Okay, so what's your favorite time of the year?
Oh my gosh. I can't answer that one. Like, legitimately, there are things that I love about all four seasons. And this is actually, I don't even know why I've spent so much time like in agony over this question. But as an adult, I'm like, I need to have a favorite season and I can't pick one. Like, spring is baseball, softball season, right? And that's fantastic. So, I mean, yeah, there's allergies, which suck, but it's still like baseball softball season. Summer, the weather is like insane, and as a teacher, summer break, like heck yeah, all over that. um Fall, like my birthday is in fall, so love that. Love the clean slate start to a new school year, like that's fantastic. Fall colors, that 70-degree day with like autumn leaves, like yeah, I'm totally there for that. And then winter, like who doesn't love a good Christmas, Thanksgiving, right? Like I'm just a foodie, so love those food holidays. And then also New Year's, right? 2 week break in the middle of like, I don't know, like snow on the ground. Yeah. So I don't know, but I really have like had actual anxiety over picking a season. I can't do it.
I mean, that's good. You find the joy in all of them. I will say for myself, I am a fall guy, but the real issue becomes where there's that little lull, right, where Halloween ends and everyone's like, "It's Christmas time," and I say, "No, it's not. You're missing
No.
the best holiday of the year, which is Thanksgiving."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to
And
commemorate,
I understand like people have issues with like the reason of how Thanksgiving came to be and stuff.
yeah,
And like I totally can get that and understand it, comma, but the way we celebrate Thanksgiving is not like that, right? Like I'm not putting on a pilgrim hat or anything like that. Like
yeah,
we're legitimately spending time like doing jigsaw puzzles around the fireplace, eating for like 3 days straight, like while still in our pajamas, and the leftovers, like you can't even, right? I mean, cranberry sauce, no, like Thanksgiving is phenomenal, not to mention all the pumpkin spice and eggnogs and chai tea and like, yeah, it's good stuff.
you are speaking my language on that because I have a blow up. I have a blow up turkey I put in the front yard. I'm like, we are not forgetting this holiday, people. It is here and it is important.
Yes, it is. It is. And let's
Um,
be really honest, right? Like, why do we love holidays? It's because we get to spend time together, right? I mean, and that goes right back to that, like, why we do the esports or why we do team sports, right? We're building community. I had 30 people over for a barbecue last night, and we had softball team, like, we're kicking off nationals, right? So, like, let's have a team dinner. I just, that camaraderie is so important that, yeah, I just think the time together and the shared experiences is so, so valuable.
this might be great for you then. This next question, you can be related to softball as well. What is your favorite sports team for high school, college, and the pro level? However, you cannot pick a place you coach or have played with.
Oh, man. All right. So my favorite for high school has to be easy, right? Because my daughter plays for Wesleyan High School softball. Love it. Um, and you eliminated Lake Ridge from being a possibility because I work there. So that can't be. Um, but to be really honest, like anything high school softball right now, like I'm finding girls across the state that I know playing high school softball. And so that is just super fun to watch. Um, for the college level, I'm going to go with Fox, right? Like, I think that George Fox has done a really great job. And again, you've eliminated Warner. So, like, that can't even be. But I think that across the board, Fox has done a really good job of building community and helping students find their people within their sports teams. And there's a real sense of pride around a lot of the George Fox community. And so I think that's fantastic. I would have said Oregon State, go Beavs, but my son is nerdy. And so, it's fine. And then you said pro level was the last one.
Yes.
I still have to go Oakland A's. I mean, like, love that. I love that historically Oakland has been able to build talent and find the diamond in the rough, and I love that aspect of Oakland ball. I sadly feel like we're doing less of that effectively, but nobody's asked me, so it's fine. Maybe someday. Not sure I could do any better, but I love that Oakland has kind of had that underdog story, and I love that at the All-Star break we almost always tend to pick it up and see this huge run at the end of the season and like build that momentum and get that excitement. And I really think that a lot of that is because they start to gel together as a team, and they're like, okay, this is what we've got, guys, so what are we going to do about it? And they have figured it out and gotten dialed in together. So maybe I'm just making that up, but in my brain, like, I like to think about them being able to really find the positive in each other and come together. And so I'm sure that that's why they've been successful. And so I love that about them.
Amazing. Okay. Do you listen to country music at all?
No, but I keep thinking I should. I don't know. Country music fans seem to have a lot of fun.
We definitely do. I love me
Awesome.
some country too. But right now, big guy out is, well, there's a couple, but one of them is Luke Combs, and he has a song called Doing This.
Yeah.
So it starts off, he says, someone once asked me in an interview, what was growing up like? Where'd you go to school? And what would you do if you weren't doing this? So my question to you is, what would you be doing right now if you weren't an esports coach, if you weren't a math teacher, if you weren't a mother?
I used to sell cars. I really hope I wouldn't still be doing that. So I mean, I think about that a lot, right? Like, and full disclosure, some of the reason why I think about that is because, like, there are some days that I'm like, this job is hard and I'm not sure I want to keep doing it. So what else would I do? Right. And like start to, and to be honest, I just keep coming back to this. Like, I was wired for this. I did in high school. I used to want to become a play-by-play commentator for a Major League Baseball team. And I think I could have done it, but I think I would have hated it. To be really honest, I think that, I mean, I still talk for a living, right? Like that's what teachers are. We talk and analyze and do that stuff for a living. But I think that what I didn't realize was that you actually have to care about things like, what do you look like? And you have to care about what other people say about what you look like. And that is just not me. Like, I love the sport. I love the game. I actually played men's collegiate baseball for 3 weeks in college. But I know, right? That's like a whole nother podcast though. But like, I love that. And I love the thinking behind the game and how smart that game is, right? The strategy. I love that, but I don't think that I would have loved the pressure and the requirements that job puts on you. So I don't know. It would be somewhere between selling cars and calling baseball games.
All right. I mean, I'm sure, there was the movie we talked about earlier. I'm sure we can find a hybrid of the two and you'd be successful at it.
Right. That's hilarious.